Today's episode of DRL is brought to you by Hella Cocktail Company. My guests don't just come to DRL for me. They also come for the cocktails. Luckily, my friends at Hella Cocktail Company have my back. These guys make amazing mixes, from Bloody Mary to Margarita to Moscow Mule. They also make cocktail bitters, my secret ingredient, and now yours too. It's easy to feel like the best bartender in town when every bottle comes with a simple recipe on it. Hella Cocktail Company, bold flavor, real ingredients, hospitality. Mixing it up since 2011. Shop the collection on Amazon Prime or use code DRL online at hellacocktail.co for free shipping. Hello, my lovely listeners. Welcome back to another episode of DRL, where we're talking everything dating, relationships, and love. I'm your host, Tanisha Wood. Today, I'm here with Tearra.
Yeah.
So we had a class together, like freshman year, I think.
Let's not talk about how long ago that was. Freshman year of college.
Freshman year of college. And I don't know that we interacted much, but I definitely remembered you. And then I was like, oh, she was the girl who like already completely knew Spanish. And I remember thinking, like, why is she even in this class? She already knows Spanish, like inside and out.
I
so
learned
like
in school.
you learned in college?
In high school.
Okay, because in college, it seemed like you just knew like all, and I was like,
You fake it till you make it, okay?
This is unfair.
I knew how to ask where to get to the bathroom. I know what a fork is, the kitchen, but not fluent at all.
And now that I'm in Puerto Rico, I'm really regretting not having paid attention more. So how's life? How's life been since college?
Crazy. Oh my gosh. So my latest endeavor has been my baby. Gosh.
How has that been?
So crazy. It's so weird looking at him. I'm just like, I love you so much. Like, OMG, for real. But yeah, I didn't know I was going to have kids actually. And all of a sudden I'm in my 30s and I got pregnant and I was like, oh, okay, this is happening. Okay.
So when you said you didn't know you were going to have kids, you didn't want them? Or you just...
I actually, since I was a kid, I thought like, maybe I'll adopt. That was the thought in my head. And then I just... had a few boyfriends in my life and never got pregnant and thought, that was going to be my life. And then all of a sudden, I was pregnant. I was like, okay.
So it was a complete surprise.
It was, and it totally changed me right away. Like, well, I didn't know until one morning I threw up my ginger tea. And I was like, that doesn't make sense. Like, why did I throw up my ginger tea? And so I took a test, and it was... Actually, when you have the two lines and it's like one is for sure and the one is like kind of there. Mm-hmm. But they said if it's kind of there, then you're probably kind of pregnant. So I
can't deal with that sort of uncertainty. You're probably, I need to know for sure.
But just at that moment, I was like, that's it. Like, I'm going to get on my Duolingo, know my Spanish for real. I'm going to not drink at all. Like, I'm about to try to work out how I can, just eat as good as I can. But, it just totally changed me in every way. And then he didn't want to come out, but he did. And now...
What do you mean he didn't want to come out? He was like...
My labor was crazy, yo. Like, it was really, really a lot. I was in labor for 2.5 days. They had to induce me. I was in pain for a really long time. Oof. And so finally,
these are the things that scare me.
I was like, can I get some nitrous oxide? And that did not work for me.
Like, that works at the dentist?
Not enough. So I got an epidural. And they had to use a vacuum, too, to tilt his head. They said that I pushed him out, but they had to tilt his head. And that was the last resort before they were going to do emergency C-section.
Oh, my God.
I was like, okay, where is it? I tried to stay calm the whole time. Yeah, so he finally came out, and... he's like a little miracle.
So you just told me like 10 things I didn't want to know. I'm like, wow, they can use vacuums. Who knew?
They do, but which is better than forceps, I've heard, because that's what they used to do.
Oof.
Like,
wow. Well, I'm glad he's here.
Me too.
So what's life been like since he's actually been here?
Oh, man, so crazy. A lot of it was really just knowing that I want to be positive for my baby and having that mindset. And knowing that things are going to change, things are going to happen how you don't expect, and you just roll with it and do your best.
You have a boyfriend?
Boyfriend, fiance, complication,
okay.
All of it.
So what is the story with you guys?
Oh, man. So it's so crazy. I was actually living in California for 4 years, And I moved back. When I came back, I was just kind of in this limbo state. Like, I don't know where I'm supposed to be, what I'm supposed to do, if I should be in Minnesota, LA, la la la. And I met this guy, and he was super sweet and super into spirituality as far as like dimensions and astral traveling and understanding your body on different levels, and just seemed like a really positive person. So yeah, he just scooped me up and I let him. So that happened about 3 years ago. Mm-hmm. Yeah. And then ever since then, I don't know, it's been kind of complicated trying to figure out if we're on the right path with each other. You know, right now, honestly, it's been kind of difficult. And I won't talk too much about it since he's not here, but I know for me, I just see it as this is my life story. This is what's supposed to happen. I have this beautiful baby, and I think I'm learning so much about my own growth and where I need to grow as far as, you know, handling my emotions. And, you know, like you feel like you've learned so much about yourself and you're like, oh, I'm doing so great. I can do this and that. I can deal with all these things. This is awesome. And then something else triggers you and you're like, oh man, I lost it.
Right.
Where'd I go? I thought I was cool, you know? So I think with that relationship, I've really seen even further where my triggers have been and how I want to proceed and how I want to heal, and really taking time to heal. I actually, I've been working with this foundation called Irreducible Grace Foundation, and it's youth-based. It's really about giving youth a voice and helping people heal from trauma. So I've been trained to facilitate these health and wellness workshops.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, and that has been so helpful in my own growth, too.
I was going to say, in your own relationship,
it's
you have
insane.
to use those tools.
Yes, like, honestly, one day they were like, okay, we're going to do this piece about trauma. And the prompts are, every time this happens, I'm traumatized all over again. And it took me a while to figure out what to say, because I'm like, you know, I've had a lot of traumatizing events happen to me as a child, as a young adult, as an adult. And I feel like I'm healed, you know, like I feel like I've dealt with them and I'm feeling good about it. I've gotten over so many anxieties, like physical anxieties. I feel good. But I realized in this romantic relationship that I would be triggered.
What were you triggered by?
I realized I'm triggered when somebody tells me I'm not enough. And I'm like, how come? But if I know I'm enough, why am I triggered then? Why am I so upset if he's saying, oh, you're not doing this right, or you're not even doing that? Why am I allowing that to trigger me? And I believe it's because from when I was young, you know, I wasn't enough for, you know, my mother or one of her men or whatever, just being told that I wasn't enough, or this kind of complication in their own relationships and taking that as, oh, I'm doing something wrong, or I'm not doing what I'm supposed to be doing. Like, that was still on me.
You know what I think?
Then.
I think that trauma is like imprinted in our DNA,
it is.
Particularly when it happens at such a young age.
Yeah.
And so we might be able to heal from it externally, but it's always there. And it's just a matter of time before something triggers it.
Right. I think it's about learning about these triggers and your traumas, and that helps you heal from it, but also using techniques. Like, one of the things that we learned is to hum. When you hum, that resonance actually makes space in your body for that trauma.
What do you mean?
Because trauma is imprinted in our DNA. It is imprinted in our body. We hold it as space in there. So when you hum, you make this space, you feel open, and you have space for that trauma to exist. It's not going to go away.
Right.
But you can feel better and make space for that.
So it doesn't feel like it's like pushing and trying to pop through something. It's just like it's going to be there.
Right.
Make the space for it.
Yeah, and make space for everything to flow inside of you, the water that you are, your blood, everything.
So it's literally like, yeah.
But like, you really like let it out, and you feel that resonance.
at the moment that you're triggered and that you're feeling that trauma.
Yeah.
Wow. Who knew?
Yeah. You know, and it's not going to happen overnight, and it doesn't always happen in that first instance that you hum. But once you learn about your body, what's happening in your body, when you learn about how breath and oxygen helps you, activates your vagus nerve, comes up to your brain and tells you, I'm okay. Learning about these things, and then also learning about your specific traumas and dealing with them and helping yourself heal. All those things together, the tools to be able to breathe and hum, just helps you to be able to proceed how you want to, as opposed to reacting to things that have triggered you in the past.
And I don't think we think about the physical aspect of trauma and how it's actually affecting our bodies.
Right.
I saw this thing the other day. It was like 10 seconds of anger triggers this much stress, and 10 seconds of happiness like triggers this much serotonin. But it was basically just talking about the effect on your body and how much that does just having a little bit of stress.
For sure. And I would say too, for mothers, like our hormones change for sure. Like so much so. My face started breaking out. I was cool for like 3 months. And then all of a sudden my hair started falling out, all these things. And a lot of people say it's because of stress, it's because of this and that might be some of it, but your hormones are changing too.
Yeah.
It's just so many changes that your body's going through. So these kinds of things for anybody, but especially when you're a mother and you're dealing with all these changes and all these people coming at you saying you should or shouldn't be doing these things, you're holding your baby too much, or you shouldn't sleep with your baby, or you shouldn't breastfeed out in public, whatever. Like, you really got to work on your body and learn about what's going on in your body so you can heal.
How did having a baby then affect your relationship?
How did it affect my relationship? I think for me, like speaking for myself, having a baby, like I just know how much I want my energy to be good for him. So I have to stay in that space. So it's like, okay, if you're doing something that I don't like, I want to communicate with you about it. And if you can't meet me where I need you to meet me, then I'm going to go do what I got to do with my baby, because I don't have no energy, no time, no room for anything other than this positivity. So I think for me, I used to really try hard for, like, you can only have so much understanding. I wanted to say complete understanding, but for now it's like, man, if I'm arguing about something and you're not getting it, and I'm telling you I'm hearing you, but you don't want to hear me, then I'm just like done talking about it. Like, I'm gonna go like feed my son, because I don't have time to like try to help you, try to defend myself even more. So I would say, just like explaining myself once, maybe twice, and then moving it along. So really just taking less time to ruminate on things and just really looking forward and trying to focus on progression and positivity and future. Because you can do that in general, but I think now having my son, I see how important it is. I think before I allowed myself to, maybe sit in sadness for a day, or, actually I was kind of sad last week. I found out my friend passed away and I was pretty sad. But I knew that that's okay to have this feeling. And I was like, by the end of the day, though, like, I'm going to be good because I have all these things to be grateful for, and I need to be strong and positive, and I want this kind of imprint on my son. So let me, like, focus on what we're going to do moving forward.
Now, you mentioned before that you've had some strained relationships in your life, like with your mother or your father. Mm-hmm. Have those relationships changed since you've had a baby?
Oh, man. Yeah, for sure. I mean, they've changed so many times, and they're actually a lot better now that I'm an adult, now that my mom's finally an adult. No. My mom.
Parents got to grow up too sometimes.
Honestly, though, my mom was actually an addict. I won't even say of what, of a lot of things. But she has been clean for 12 years.
Good for her.
So I think that was something that really changed a lot. But even still, you know, we're all healing from our childhood trauma and our relationships that weren't very happy within our family units, things like that. So we've had a few blowouts actually since I've been back from Cali. But since she knew this baby was coming, it's like she's so excited about it and just wants to be there for him and just loves him. She's like, now I have a little man. You know, like you might not always have a good man in your life, but now with this little boy, it's like, now I do for sure. I don't care what else happens. This little boy is just the light of my life. So I think she really feels the same and just really wants to be there for me and is really being the mom that she has always wanted to be.
I think that's the big opportunity for a lot of parents that maybe feel like they didn't do it right the first time.
Oh, for sure.
Is I have the opportunity to like create the life I wanted with my child, with now my grandchild.
Yeah. And then also seeing like, okay, I can think of the things that I wanted or I needed when I was, you know, having you. My mom had me at 19, so she was really young. And
now, do you feel like a lot of the traumas that you've been through in your life, are you extra cautious about making sure that he doesn't experience any of those same things? I mean, you can never really prevent
right.
some trauma, like just the trauma of life is the trauma of life. And there's just some of it you can't prevent, but are you sort of extra cautious about it being that you have been through?
I would say yes and no. With that foundation that I work with, we actually did a play talking about all these different traumas. And I remember this woman who watched the play said, you know, the thing that scares me the most is that I could be something that would trigger a trauma for my kid because of me being scared of him having something wrong. I think really realizing that this baby he doesn't belong to me. He's my responsibility, but he's his own person. So I'm going to have to let him, like I'm already preparing myself. Cause you know, you think about, oh, if he has a girlfriend or a partner or whatever, and like what you want them to have, or, you know, his grandparents like, oh, I want him to play hockey or I want him to play whatever. And it's like, that's all fine and dandy. And that would be awesome if you can support him in all these things. But I'm so excited to see where he's going to want to go and to be able to help him and nourish him in these things. But he's his own person. And I keep thinking about that. He's his own person. He's going to want what he wants. He's going to do what he wants to do. And all I can do is try to help support that.
A lot of moms don't recognize that till the kid is 18.
Okay.
And they're like, oh, you're not mine.
I feel like it only hurts yourself too, you know? Like I can see how you want that. You're like, I birthed you. I carried you. I fed you, all these things.
You are mine.
For real. But it's like, you're going to be devastated when they're like, actually, I want to move out. Like, you know, these kinds of things, and just trying to be real about that and just helping him be his best self and who he wants to be. And of course, guide him and help him have whatever he needs. But
isn't it interesting though, just how we label things like my baby, my boyfriend,
for sure.
my, like everything.
And I do say that.
Yeah. The verbiage around everything is my, which implies ownership of me, you know?
For sure.
And so it's just interesting. But usually with moms, that is their big thing where it's like, these are my children, my baby. And it's hard to, I think, maintain their own identity in that.
Yeah.
Like, how have you been able to do that? Still being Tearra.
Yeah.
But also being a mother. I'll often see in people's Instagram bios where they'll put Chad's wife, Aaron's mother, and their identity is central to their role as a wife or mother or whatever it is, but they lose their sense of self in that. Like, how have you been able to balance that so far? Right. I mean, it's still pretty early in, but
and it's like, if you are so helping somebody in their growth, like that's amazing that you bring that to the table, but like, allow yourself to be that light, you know, and not just center your whole self around somebody else, because that's just setting yourself up for heartbreak, you know, and that's codependency also. Of course, I want somebody to love me and as much as I love them, but you gotta be your own self and bring yourself to the table. Otherwise, like, what are we to stand on?
Right. So to switch topics a little bit, we've actually never talked about this on the show before. You had said that you had sexual violence in the past. What was that like, and how did you overcome that?
Yeah. I was thinking about that when you were saying about just like helping lead your child into their future. And I wonder, you know, will I ever tell him about this? Possibly. But, you know, the first time that I remember that sexual violence happened to me, I was supposed to be at school. And a girlfriend of mine was like, oh, let's go down the street. These guys are over here. So we were in 8th grade. I was 13. And we go visit this guy's house. And there were other guys in there that were a little older. So there was this one guy. He was 17. He was really cute, real smooth. I was a virgin, you know. I'd kissed one person before. And he wanted to have sex with me. And there was actually 3 of us girls there, and I can't remember what happened to the one girl. I think she went outside. But 2 of us were in a garage. And one of the girls, I don't even know if she wanted to have sex with them, but she did. I don't know how many. And this one dude wanted to have sex with me, and I didn't want to. And he got really angry. And I can't remember how it all happened, but basically I ended up in the garage by myself with these other men. I don't know, maybe 5 of them. And they were trying to get me to go down on them. They're like, suck my dick. And I was like, no, I don't want to. So they started fighting me. They started hitting me with barbecue tools.
Oh my gosh.
One of them headbutted me. You know, I kicked him, and so he headbutted me. And then I just was like, okay, if I try to fight back, they're just going to fight me and get mad. So I'm just going to stand here and try to protect my head with my hands and hope that it's going to end soon, because I don't want to, and I'm not going to.
Right.
That was my choice in that moment. And luckily they were like, okay, fine. She's not going to. We'll let you out. Actually, one of them took my backpack and threw it up on the garage. And I had to climb up there to get it, climb up a tree to get my backpack. And I was scared to tell my parents about it because I was somewhere I wasn't supposed to be. My parents were very volatile at that time. I was going to get whooped. I was scared to say. So I actually ended up telling my dance teacher at the time about it. And she was like, you know, I'm happy you told me. I think you should talk to your mom about it. I think she'd want to know. And I'm just so grateful that I had other adults in my life that were able to help talk me through these things. Because I actually went through bullying at school too. People heard about it. They're calling me a slut. I'm 13. I'm a virgin. I actually fought to not have to have sex with people. And this is what you're saying to me. Like, man. So it was really hard for a while, but I think looking back now, I'm proud of myself. Like, man, I'm a strong little bitch. Like,
hell yeah.
I was like, hell no, I'm not doing that. And I can talk about it now and be like, wow, I stood up for myself.
Did you eventually tell your mom about it?
I did, about a month later. She just cried. She was sad. She wasn't so mad at me. I think she understood because she's been in abusive relationships and probably just looked at her 13-year-old daughter like, wow, that really hurts my heart to know that. And maybe to know that I was scared to tell her.
That happened when you were 13.
Right.
Did that come back up for you as you were like in your later teenage years and in your early 20s when
so.
like you're in relationships and then sex is like a consensual possibility?
Yes.
Like, how did that reemerge, and like how did you not get over it, but how did you deal with it in those moments?
Yeah, I would say for a while I was just really shy of people wanting fellatio, for me to go down on them. I was like kind of just like not ashamed, but just like shy about it. And I don't know if I even always thought about that moment, but looking back, I'm like, it was probably because of that. You know, I had some kind of shame in my body and was like, oh, I don't know. I don't know how I feel about doing that.
Right.
So that was me for a while. But whoever I was sexual with in my life was somebody that I felt emotionally connected to.
Mm-hmm.
So I think eventually, I ended up just feeling comfortable with them and being able to do whatever we want to comfortably.
Did you tell partners about that experience?
I did. And I would say one partner that I had was really uncomfortable by it and kind of blamed me, actually. And luckily for me, like, I know who I am. I'm so proud of my heart and my intentions. And I know that that's a situation that is in the past. But I feel like totally healed from it. Does it affect me still? Maybe. I don't know. As far as like trusting people or like knowing what people are capable of, I think that. But for me, it's like I know where my heart is. I know what my intentions are. And if somebody wants to say that that was my fault, then that makes me look at it like, okay, going into any kind of relationship, whether it's romantic or not, maybe I should just get to know that person better first and decide, do I want to have this conversation with them or not? Because some people just aren't susceptible to that kind of information.
Right. They're just not equipped.
Right.
Which is also sort of sad because I like to think that when I'm in a relationship with somebody that I can share everything. Like if it happened, that means it's a fact. And why should I not be able to share a fact of my life?
Bingo.
So I think that's probably a good indication. If I can't share something like that with you, this probably isn't going to work because it's just a fact of my life.
Right. Red flag.
Yeah. I was having this conversation the other day about compromise in a relationship and how much do you compromise, especially now that you have a child? Like how much do you compromise before it feels like you're changing who you are as a person? And like, what is that balance between compromise and now I'm changing me? And like, how do you balance that?
None. No compromise. No, I really go off of feeling like what I feel like I should be doing. I want to say there's maybe been 2 times that I've been away from my son when I'm not working since he's been born. And that's where I'm at with it right now. And I don't know. It's like if I feel like I should be doing something, I want to do it. If I feel like my son is more important, that's where I'm going to be at. I don't care about anything else. I can do everything that I need to do on my own. I definitely do have a community that helps me out in so many ways. But other than that, no, I just go with my own feeling. I'm all about my son right now. He needs me to grow, and that's just where my brain is at. So,
which makes sense. So you're like a super creative person, like singing, dancing, acting, like the whole. You're just like the definition of a creative person.
Thank you. I have fun.
How do you think that you're going to balance that as a mom? I think that for me, that's my fear. I go back and forth about having children like every other day. Like I walked in here and I was like, that is a lot of baby stuff.
I know.
I don't know that I want all that baby stuff, right? But if then he's awake and he comes up here and be like, oh my God, he's so cute. I just want one.
You didn't even see that.
You know what I mean? And so I go back and forth. But the biggest thing that I think that really gives me pause is the fact that, I aspire to and I want to have the type of job and career where I can always be all over the place. I'm here in Minnesota interviewing you today.
Right.
I could be down in Atlanta interviewing somebody tomorrow. I could be on a trip, and I like that element of it.
Yeah.
But then I'm also like, well, what happens when I have a child? Like, how would I balance that? I can't be like, okay, baby, like we're getting on this flight from New York to LA, deal, you're 6 months old. But you know what I'm saying? So that part is the part that I really struggle with. Have you thought deeply about that? And how do you sort of plan on balancing it?
And that's okay. Get them on the flight. I've heard a lot of people say, just take them on the flight. But also too, I think a big part of it is phases. Like we go through phases with anything, I know for me, like I grew up dancing, this Afro-Puerto Rican music called bomba that sometimes is in the forefront of my head. And sometimes it's like, I want to do more theater stuff right now, or I want to do more acting. Right now it's with my son. But actually, this traditional music is something that's communal that everybody can do. And I can't wait to see if he's interested in drumming and dancing and singing, because when he's tall enough or big enough and strong enough to stand on his own, like, I'm going to see what's up. Do you want to dance?
Right.
I've seen little babies drumming. Like, I think that would be so amazing. So I think incorporating him in that would be beautiful. But also, too, you know, right now I'm releasing music that I created before he was born. So, like, while he's asleep, that's when I'm figuring it out. Okay, which mix am I using? What am I going to post with it? Which order am I going to do it in? Kind of thing while he's asleep. But it is what it is. It's the phase right now. I'm just with him, and I can't wait to see, like, how I can incorporate all these things with him too, because he is just a little angel. His name's Donaciano.
I love that name, by the
It
way.
means gift from God.
Aww.
And I really feel like he is. So yeah, I'm excited to just incorporate him, and this is just one of the many phases of life. You know, it could change tomorrow. Who knows?
Right.
But I think just being grateful in the phase that you're in and doing what works for you is really all that you can do.
What do you think the biggest lesson that you've learned so far is since you've become a mom?
I think just being in the moment is really important. I think a lot of times when we have aspirations or we've had big things happen to us, we tend to really live in the past, or we tend to have anxiety about the future, or feel like, oh, I'm not enough, or this and that. And this could be different for everybody, but for me, like, I know I see my motivation right in front of me, and I'm like, I know I want to be happy, and I know I want to do fun things. So what are we going to do? Okay. Like, that motivation for me is just in my face every day. So, you know, it's like really living in the moment and just being flexible with whatever happens, and just knowing, like, it is what it is, and trying to be positive about it, because what is it gonna help if you're upset about something or just so affected by something not going the way that you wanted it to? You just got to be in the moment, and you're like, okay, what am I going to do about this right now?
Right.
Really being in the moment and going with the flow and being good with that, because when you resist is when things are really going to be difficult for you. But when you start, like, just letting go, and you go with that stream of life, that's when things really start happening for you and opening for you. And I would say too, I really like to write down what I want to happen and be specific. And that's really been
Put it on paper.
helpful, for sure. And a lot of it to do with gratitude too.
Mm-hmm.
Like, think about the things that you're grateful for. You never know what beauty and amazement can come out of just going with the flow and not resisting.
I love it. Living in the moment.
For sure.
So you were saying before that you use music as a source of, like, therapy and really to get things out.
For sure.
You're working on a second album right now?
Yeah. Well, I would say an EP.
Yeah.
So, which is weird because EP stands for extended play, but an LP is an actual full album.
Oh.
But this is going to be, I don't know if it's 6 songs or 9 songs, maybe 9. But yeah, so I found out last week that my friend passed away, and he was a producer that I recorded most of the time with. Like, out of anybody on this earth, I've worked with him the most. And he lived up in Palmdale, California. So when I lived in Los Angeles, I used to drive an hour up north to go record with him, usually about once a week. And we created some fun stuff, man. He was amazing. His name's Lloyd Tolbert. He worked with the Commodores. He was actually on the movie Back to the Future. He was in the prom band. He said something to Michael J. Fox. I can't remember what, but he was just a cool dude, and he had this, like, funk soul vibe in him, and I really wanted this, like, pop R&B hip hop vibe also. So we came up with some awesome music, and why it's so therapeutic, another reason for me is because I want to talk about positivity. I actually studied communications and at the U. And I really just learned about human interaction, but also understanding yourself. And so I write about that. So writing about these things helps me to get it out on paper, but also to talk to other people about it too. But then hearing this music is just really fun and lively and funky. And of course, you know, listening to it again is reminding me of all the time that I spent with Lloyd. And so, yeah, I was like, I think now's the time to release it. I really thought about actually kids having music that they can listen to that's fun, that's like appropriate for them. So I'm like, now that I have a baby, I guess it's the perfect time to release it. So yeah, so I've been releasing a song a day. Some of them I'm talking about relationships, like this one. I'm actually talking about relationships. Actually, a friend of mine, Tony Haynes, is the one that wrote the lyrics. Mm-hmm. He is an amazing writer, and he sat down with me. We'd like go to Starbucks or whatever, Trader Joe's, and walk around and talk about just relationships and like the kind of things that I was going through, whether it's like a fuck boy and I didn't realize it, I didn't want him to be, but like he's showing me like, no, this is the
they
vibe.
Always show who they are.
This is what's happening. So like the one I released today is like called There, like, oh, you keep like trying to pull me in, but like you're not even serious about it, so why are you doing that kind of thing. But yeah, so a song a day, a tribute to Lloyd Tolbert, because that's my homie and I'm gonna miss you forever. And your work ethic has imprinted on my soul, and I'm just so grateful that I was able to work with him.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Like I said, I admire people that can sing. Y'all know I sing sometimes, but I can't really sing.
Oh, I'm excited.
So what is next for you?
So many things. Actually, we have a show at Global Market, my Afro-Caribbean traditional bomba group. We're going to do a show at Global Market. So that's traditional music. It's all hand drums, vocals, and dance, and it's a communal thing. So we actually teach some of the songs to sing, and everybody sings together. It's like a call and response kind of nice. Music. So that's happening. And then releasing these songs. I'm just releasing them on YouTube now, but I'm thinking that I want to release an EP. So this will be Art Projects Volume 2.
So where can people reach you and find your music and everything that you're doing?
Tearra also on everything. So my Instagram, Facebook, Twitter, SoundCloud, YouTube. It's TEARRAOSO. It actually means Earth Bear in Spanish.
Earth Bearer?
Earth Bear.
Earth Bear.
Yeah, also means bear.
Oh.
Yeah.
Look at me learning Spanish.
Yeah, look at you. Also. We call my son Osito.
Oh, that's little bear.
Yeah.
See, I know Spanish.
Oh, you about to go back to Puerto Rico like, ¿Dónde está mi osito?
Yeah. Shout out to all my little bears.
Okay.
Thank you so much for coming on today.
Thank you for having me. This was fun talking.
Yeah, I'm wishing you the journey through motherhood is just peaceful and great.
Thank you.
I can feel that you are going to do great things for your son.
Thank you. And good vibes to everybody listening too.
Thank you. Yeah. And please reach out to me at Tanisha Wood on Instagram, Facebook, and Twitter, and let me know what you think of today's show. And until next time, wish me love. Hello again, my lovely listeners. Thank you so much for tuning in to today's episode of DRL. If you like the show, be sure to go on iTunes and leave a rating and also write a review. And don't forget to share with your friends and tell them all about DRL. Thank you so much for supporting.